My husband was at a total of 3 different hospitals, and at each hospital the medical staff was informed by my in-laws that I was not to receive any information in regards to my husband's medical condition or his progress. Justice, as co-guardian over her father, would plead with the medical staff for this to be changed so that I could receive information on my husband. No one would comply. On December 28, 2007, my husband spoke for the very first time. While covering his trach, he said, "I love you, Joe." And he spoke to each of our children, calling them by name and telling each of them that he loved them. Finally, we had a glimmer of hope. Hope was fleeting. I was harassed by the medical staff at the Ann Arbor Hospital for standing next to my husband's bedside, stating that I irritated him and that I was to move away, on the request of my mother-in-law. We found this out by a nurse mistaking Justice over the phone to be one of my husband's sisters, and the nurse stated to Justice that she was on it and keeping an eye on me as I tried to stand by my husband's bed. Justice informed the nurse of who she was, and the person that they were harassing was in fact her mother, and I was the patient's wife. Justice again stated to the medical staff that I was allowed to know information regarding my husband and giving her co-guardian consent. On January 4th, 2008, my father-in-law refused and told Justice I could not know anything about my husband. The staff at the Ann Arbor Hospital would continually and blatantly ignore myself and our son when asking questions concerning the medical treatment of my husband. My father-in-law, the conservator over my husband, was now receiving all my husband's money. At this point, he has left us without a dime from October 26, 2007 to January 2008. I was now living off the state. On February 1st, 2008, Justice was informed by telephone by my husband's case manager that my husband's scheduled surgery was now canceled. Justice was then later informed by the nursing staff that the surgery was in fact scheduled for February 4th. Justice called the case manager several times and left several messages in regards to the status of my husband's pending surgery and to give her consent. The case manager never returned her phone calls. The surgery was performed without our knowledge and without Justice's consent. This is not typical hospital protocol. My in-laws were present and fully aware of all the changes. We were now very upset and angry. We were now told that we were harassing the medical staff, simply by asking questions as to how this could happen. On February 5th, 2008, a formal complaint was filed with this Ann Arbor Hospital for harassment and surgery without the co-guardian's consent. We have been completely ignored and no one has contacted us regarding this situation. On February 12, 2008, I received a phone call from our bankruptcy attorney that I was due in court in 2 days, for there has not been one payment made on our bankruptcy since October 25, 2007. Frantically, I pleaded for more time to find an attorney to help us, informing the attorney that my father-in-law, who was the conservator over my husband, that he was receiving all my husband's money and he was now in breach of his fiduciary duties. A benefit dinner was held for us by Heart the Earth. The proceeds were to go to our family to help save our home. An article was ran in our local newspaper, who misquoted and stated that the proceeds were to go for my husband's medical expenses. That of which was false, and a retraction was made. My mother-in-law actually called people to say that we didn't need the money. All of my husband's medical expenses are totally covered by his father's insurance and also my auto insurance policy. With the known correction printed, the original article with the incorrect information made its way to the Ann Arbor medical staff. Again, all done with great manipulation. My husband's medical doctor wrote a letter to the court stating that we held fundraising activities in Bay City for my husband's medical expenses, which were incorrect, and information was inappropriately on the internet. This medical doctor also stated there should only be one guardian and one conservator over my husband. Her role as a medical doctor was unbiased and deplorable, for she never once spoke to me for more than 10 minutes, and only spoke to Justice at the very most 3 times during my husband's stay at this Ann Arbor hospital from December 2007 to April 2008. My father-in-law paid this doctor and the case manager each a $600 fee to give a deposition to use against Justice in probate court. As of April 2008, my father-in-law was now receiving approximately $5,000 a month of my husband's money. He only allotted my children and myself $1,000 a month, and I am on a state-funded food card. Once again, waiting the 6-month period, we were all served with papers again. My father-in-law was now petitioning to remove Justice as co-guardian over her father. And along with the papers that were served, I received a separate letter from my father-in-law's attorney, which stated if they were successful in the removal of Justice as co-guardian, that they were going to divorce me. Justice was the only one standing in their way to completely destroy us. It took us a very long time to find an attorney to help us. No one wanted the case, mainly because I had no money. So no money means no justice. The crassness I heard out of attorneys' mouths. Many I contacted had little concern for the law, not to mention the abuse of a family soon to be homeless. The main concern was, how are you going to pay for my services? Finally, we found an attorney to help us, though they did not practice probate law. The money donated from the benefit dinner, in which we were very grateful for, was not enough to save our home. So we used the money that was raised from the benefit dinner, and we used it for a retaining fee. Both Justice and I filed petitions to terminate or modify guardianship and conservatorship. My father-in-law was in breach of his fiduciary duties, and he was destroying my family and our lives. Something needed to be done.